starting. Comments will, yeah.
Okay.
1, 2, wait. Okay, you're live.
All right, there we go. If you have always wanted to know about the world famous chicken salad, we're going to get started in just a couple minutes. My pal Lynn is working the camera, and because John's at work, and she's going to be reading the questions to me. We're going to start off talking about knives, how to take care of them, how to properly hold one, what to look for while you're shopping, all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to give you some skills that you can either practice with a potato, which is what I did when I was in school, or an onion, because they're cheap. You can make a lot of mashed potatoes. And we're going to get started in just a couple minutes. I'm just going to go behind the camera for a second, make sure that everything is showing up on the computer so that Lynn can read the questions to me, and I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Okay, is that supposed to pop up here? Oh.
We're looking.
Is that,
there it is.
There it is.
Okay, so. So, you're going to show up over here.
Okay.
Okay.
So then I just hit the little refresh thing.
Yeah, we don't have to do anything now.
Oh.
It's all set. So there we go.
Awesome.
All right. So, Lynn, at the top of the screen on this side, you'll see how many people are in.
11.
Great. We're going to wait just a couple more minutes. Is my sister Nancy in? Can you see?
On
the side?
I don't see her.
We're all learning. We're all learning.
We're all learning.
All right, so let's talk about knives. This is the very first knife my husband ever bought me. And my love affair with knives began a very long time ago, the first time I saw somebody hit their knife on the steel. And what that's doing is honing it and straightening out the edge and making sure there's no little nicks in it. And we're not going to talk about that today, okay? But this knife is 30 years old, more than 30 years old. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, this is a real kitchen. This is my real house. And those are real dogs that are barking for God knows what reason. So hang on. God almighty.
Let me see.
I'll give it to you then.
Okay.
This is my dog control device. Okay. Now that that's over, so if you are joining us for the first time, this is a real house, this is my real kitchen, those are my real dogs that will bark for any number of reasons. So, as I was saying, this is the very first knife my husband ever bought me. It is made by Wusthof. It is German. And it was very expensive for us at the time. So, you know, I'm a big believer in buying the best that you can afford, because you will not be sorry later. If you buy a cheap knife, you're going to have to replace the cheap knife over and over and over again. And then you're going to basically spend what you would have spent on a really good one, okay? So there's a lot of different things to look for when you're looking at a knife. So the first thing you should be looking for is it a full tang blade? So what that means is when you look at this, you see how the blade itself runs all the way through the handle, and then the handle is riveted on? That's called a full tang blade. And it's easy to see in that one and in this one. It's not as easy to see in this Japanese one, but it is a full tang blade. I know it is, but it's not as easy to see. So the benefit to a full tang blade is multifold. One, it's a stronger blade. Two, it's not gonna wiggle. Your handle is not gonna come loose. So you're gonna have a lot more stability. So you wanna look for ones that are comfortable in your hand, and there's all different shapes of handles, because not everybody's hand is the same, okay? So what you want to do when you're shopping for a knife is you want to hold the knife here and wrap these 3 fingers around the base, so that you're holding the knife like this, because this is how you're going to hold your knife. Now you're going to hold your knife like this because it gives you more stability. It gives you more control. It gives you more strength. It's actually going to allow the blade to do its job. Okay? If you ever watch somebody on a Food Network or any other show holding their knife like this, they're an idiot, and stop watching them immediately, because obviously they don't know what the hell they're doing. Okay? So, hold your knife like this. You see how my fingers are wrapped around the handle? And you're going to notice, if you do a lot of cutting over and over and over again, you're going to develop a callus right here, and you're going to develop a callus up here. And Anthony Bourdain once said in one of his books, I can't remember which one, that he can always tell who the working chefs are, because when he shakes their hand, he can feel their callus. And you shake the hand of any working chef, you shake their hand and there's going to be a callus, because you get one. Your hand is going to get sore from holding the blade. So I brought out all three of these. These are all what's considered an 8-inch chef's knife, and the chef's knife refers to the shape of the blade. And they're all slightly different. We're going to work, I'm going to use the made-in one today. Okay? Just because I can. All right, so any questions so far?
No, just my camera skills.
Oh, your camera skills? All right, so take your onion. Now, oh, by the way, I didn't give you the recipe for this or the shopping list for this intentionally, because once I give you the instructions and, you know, tell you what's in it, you just throw it in a bowl and you mix it up. Seriously, you don't need to watch the demo. But I wanted to spend some time with you this week, so this is why we're doing it this way. Okay. The video is going to be posted to YouTube, and the recipe will be underneath the video on YouTube. So you'll be able to rewatch the knife skills class and get all the instructions, get all the measurements for it to get set. So an onion grows in the ground. You've got a root end and a stem end. So we're going to take as many of the little roots off as we can,
Nanette,
just by grabbing them.
Nanette wants to know what your shirt says.
Oh, I don't know, but it's a knives. I can't read them either. I don't know. It's upside down. Oh, well, I don't know. But the shirt is from a company called, I don't remember. I'll think about it. I'll get back to you. But they make all kinds of cheeky chef shirts, and this happens to be one of theirs. So we're going to cut our stem end off and leave the root intact. And then we're going to cut our onion from top to bottom, so that our root is cut in half. Okay? Now we're doing this for a couple reasons. One, the onion is going to make you cry. But the part that makes you cry is actually the root. The closer you get to the root, the more you cry. I don't know why that is. It's just the way it is. We're going to peel back our skin. And every now and then you'll see like a light, like a silver skin. Take that off too. This one's a little knotty, woody. So we're going to peel back all those layers. And then we're going to be left with this nice clean onion with the root intact. So the root is intact because, one, it's going to make you cry. Two, as we do this particular knife skill, you're going to notice that the root being intact is going to hold your onion together so that it's not sliding all over the place, and you're going to reduce your chance to get cut. So I've done this before on my videos. We're going to do it again. Make your hand like a backward C. And you're going to go sideways through the onion with your hand up out of the way as many times as you are comfortable. Now, we want a pretty fine dice, so we're going to try and go across a good 3 or 4 times. And you don't want to go all the way through. You want to leave your root intact. Then we're going to start at the top, and we're going to cut down. Another thing about onions and crying is if the sharper your knife is, the less you're going to cry. I don't know why that is either, but that's just a fact. And if your onion is cold, you'll cry less. All right, so now we're going to go across. Now, always make a claw and keep your thumb tucked in so that you're not cutting your fingers. And your fingers, when they're in a claw shape, will act as a natural guide for the blade. And we want about 1/3 of a cup of finely diced onion. And I'm just going to dice the whole half here. If they fall out like that, the pieces fall out, don't panic. You can cut them later. Now, Anne Burrell likes to say slices, sticks, dice, which is kind of what we just did with this onion. So we made slices, then we did sticks, and then we diced. I'm just going to set this off to the side. This is way more onion than we need. And you'll notice my fingers are in a claw. My thumb is tucked out of the way. Now, you could do this with a food chopper, but I really like the dice. I think that the texture has a lot to do with your food. And if you chop it up, sometimes, you're going to get all these uneven pieces. And if it's all nicely diced, you're going to have like proper texture in your mouth for this particular salad. Okay, that's enough onion. I'm going to slide this off to the side. Now we're going to work on celery. Celery's a little bit trickier because, I know you're told, do. We're going to cut our ends off. And of course, this has already been washed. And we're going to take this, and you see how the celery kind of curves a little bit? We are going to very gently cut off the curve. So we're making a really long stick of celery and a really skinny stick of celery. And you want to try and make these as even thickness as possible. That way your dice comes out, all the same. You'll notice I'm not looking too much at the camera because I'm paying attention to what I'm doing with the knife. Again, we don't want to cut ourselves. So when you're working with a good knife, or any knife really, what you're cutting on is also really important. I do not use a glass, marble, or other hard surface because that's just going to dull your blade. You can nick your blade doing that. You don't want to be cutting on stainless steel because you'll nick your blade. You want to use a heavy-duty plastic like this one is. You'll see these all the time in professional kitchens. The other nice thing about these particular heavy-duty plastic ones is that they are sanitizable. So you can bleach them down. So if you're working with raw chicken or fish, you can sanitize them and continue to use them for something else. I use a wood board on the daily for vegetables. Now we're going to go crosswise, and again, as tiny as you can get it because we want to make it match the onion. And notice my hand again in the claw with the thumb tucked in. I use a wooden cutting board for onions and garlic and things like that, and then I'll put a plastic mat over the top of it if I'm going to do something that's more delicate like fruit or something that I don't want to taste like onion and garlic. And then I'll actually knead bread on that wooden cutting board, and it'll pick up the taste of the onion and the garlic, so it's kind of, it's kind of nice. Gives it a little bit of something. But the benefit to wood and this plastic is that your blade is actually going to sink into it instead of bouncing off it, so you're not going to nick your blade, okay? It is perfectly safe for your blade, as is a good wooden cutting board. So, I try to buy knives that are German or Japanese in origin. I find that their steel tends to be higher quality. I find that they hold their edge longer and that I'm not ever insecure about using them. So you'll notice, even though I'm getting really tight in on this celery, because I'm holding my knife like this, I have really good control. And I'm not worried about the blade doing this all over the place. Let me get a bench scraper. Okay, so I'm working with a large rotisserie chicken today, and I like the ones at Costco because they're big. This one is pretty large, and it always comes trussed, which is when they tie it up at the bottom. So we're going to take our blade and nick that out. Take our strings off because we definitely don't want that in our food. That'd be gross. And it goes up around the back, you'll see. It goes up around the back and through the wings. So we're going to pull that off. Now, I told you before to treat chicken like it's radioactive. That's pretty much when it's raw. When it's cooked, you know, you can worry a lot less about it. All right, so if you think of a chicken like you think of your own anatomy, all of the bones are the same, okay? We all have ribs, we all have a tibia, we all have a femur, we all have the radius and the ulna. You know, we all have the same bones. They're just kind of proportioned a little bit differently. So if you think of your leg as your calf and the thigh as your thigh, this breast, what you're going to be cutting through is the breastbone, okay? So we're just going to lay our knife in and you're going to push because you're cutting through bone. You can hear it, okay? And you'll notice it just pops right open, okay? You're going to break that back. I'm just going to set one half of the set to the side. And I have a wet rag here to constantly wipe my hands down. You want to kind of keep your hands as dry as possible when you're touching your blade, again, so that you don't lose control. We're going to go in, we're going to take off our leg and our thigh. And we're also going to remove our wing. Maybe on another day, I'll teach you how to break down a raw chicken to save you money. Because if you could buy a whole chicken at 69 or 89 or 99 cents a pound, that's a lot cheaper than buying a chicken already cut up. So now we're going to take off our skin, and I know it's sacrilege, but we're throwing it out. And we're going to get rid of all this excess fat because we don't want fat in our chicken salad. We want to keep it nice and lean. Now my stepmom, chicken salad is one of my all-time favorite sandwiches, always has been. One of my bridesmaids actually ran a sandwich shop, and my love of her chicken salad was unparalleled. She made a really good job. Tina Gallardi, if you're watching, thank you for the great chicken salad. But my stepmom, she made the best chicken salad, and this is her recipe. And for a long time, I didn't want to share it because I figured if I shared it, then nobody was going to ask me to make it. But I found that that wasn't true with my lemon bars, that people still ask me to make them even though they have access to the recipe on my website. And we're just going through and pulling the meat away from the breastbone, which is the sternum, and away from the ribs. And make sure you get out that little piece of wishbone. Your wishbone is actually the clavicle, your collarbone. So you're getting an anatomy lesson as well. And I do this with my fingers. If you wanted to practice boning out a chicken with your knife, you totally could. But I do it with my fingers. That way I make sure I get all the meat out. This is a nice big breast. So Lynn will get some of this chicken salad as a thank you for helping me today.
Yay.
And then we're going to set this aside because we're going to use it to make chicken stock. And we're going to do the same thing with this one. We're going to remove our leg and thigh. And actually the spine's attached on this one, so it's a little bit trickier. And we're going to take off our wing. Get in there in the joint and cut it off. And then again, take off our skin, toss it out, and remove the fat. Now, if you've made chicken stock and you have breasts, my dog is underneath my feet, literally underneath my feet, trying to get whatever pieces of chicken that I drop. Yogi. If you've made chicken stock and you have, you know, boiled chicken from the stock, you can totally use that too. I just tend to do it with the rotisserie chicken because it's easy to get your hands on and you don't have to go through the trouble of making stock just to have a chicken. And then you can use your thighs and legs for some other purpose. You could put them in your chicken soup, you could do chicken tetrazzini, whatever. And I gotta find that wishbone. Here's the other half of it. Okay. So now we've got our breast meat. And we're again gonna dice this. And we're gonna do, you know, we're gonna try and keep this like pretty uniform. We're not gonna make it as, Yogi, get out. We're not gonna make it as small as the onion and the celery. We want this in about 1/2 inch dice. So we're gonna make 1/2 inch thick slices of chicken from top to bottom on that breast. So the part that the skin was on should be facing you. And then we're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna make 1/2 inch thick slices. Try and keep that out.
Bob Bucci's horrified that you broke the wishbone.
Well, when you're cutting the chicken from top to bottom, it's kind of hard not to. And, you know, so just to illustrate that again, we're doing 1/2 inch thick slices from top to bottom, turning it on its side, and doing 1/2 inch thick cuts. So all of our chicken is going to be roughly the same size. You could do really small pieces if you wanted to, but I just find it's texturally a lot better if your chicken is chunkier than your onions and your celery. Bob, oh yes, you know, when Jack was little, whenever we would roast a chicken or a turkey, we would save the wishbone and dry it out, and when one of us needed a wish, we would break a wishbone together. And we still do that. My son's going to be 27 in June, and we still do it. When one of us needs a wish, we break a wishbone together. It was always funny because my mom always had them on a jar or glass or something on the kitchen ledge, and I just never understood, why would she keep those, you know? But as I got older and I had my own family, I realized that, you know, breaking the wishbone is something fun to do with your kids, and we always did. And my son is, like I said, he's going to be 27, and we still break the wishbone together. John and I hardly ever do it. But it's always me and Jack. Now, you know, with a chicken breast, it's kind of hard to get all of the pieces exactly 1/2 inch, simply because of the nature of the beast. You know, there's different muscles. They come apart. There are several different muscles in the chest cavity, and they don't stay together necessarily when they're cooked. They separate from one another. And so your pieces aren't necessarily all going to be exactly the same. Every now and then, you'll get a little piece of that cartilage that sticks. Cut that out because nobody wants to bite into that in their sandwich. Pretty nasty. Okay. Any questions so far about knives? Why you should have a good one? You know, I feel with kitchenware in particular, knives and cookware, seriously, the best you can afford, buy it. You will not be disappointed. That black-handled knife, like I said, is 30 years old, and that's the one my son reaches for when he comes over and cooks in the house. If you watched the birthday edition where we made the chicken piccata, that was the knife my son used. And that's the one my husband reaches for. I bought this one for myself just because I liked the red handle and I wanted to check out this company, and I'm very happy with it. It's a company called Made In. They're based out of Texas. The other one, the pretty one, is Japanese, and it's by Shun. And it's very pretty, and my husband bought that one for me as well. Okay, so this is what you should have in your bowl at this point. Okay? Let me wash my hands because now we're going to have fun again. And I'm going to go pull a clean cutting board to lay on top of that one. I meant to get it out ahead of time, and I didn't. Because I don't want to do the onions or the walnuts on top of it where I did the chicken. Okay. So, the thing about the walnuts, yes, there's walnuts in my chicken salad. You don't want to do these in a food processor or a food chopper because we want them coarse. We want them somewhere between the size of the onion and the chicken. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use the flat side of our blade. And we're just gonna gently press down on it, and it's gonna break the walnuts up. You know, you don't wanna mash them into smithereens. You could toast these first if you wanted to. You know, I don't, but you can. My stepmom used to break them up with her hands and put them in, but I found that using the flat side of my blade worked really well for me, and that's how I do it. You'll notice, I don't know if you could see it. This is how big a walnut is to start with. It's a half a walnut, and then these are the size pieces that we're looking at. They're, you know, a little bit bigger than the onion and a little bit smaller than the chicken.
Bob wants to know, what if you don't like walnuts?
You don't have to use walnuts, but it won't be Grandma Nettie's chicken salad. It'll just be chicken salad. This is Nettie's recipe. If you could use pecans instead, or pecans if you're Southern. She's done that before too, but walnut was her preferred nut of choice, and this is how I make it. So whenever I would go visit Dad and Nettie, she would always have a bowl of this ready for me, and she had to tell my dad to stay out of it, because he would, seriously, he would go through it like lickety-split, like before I even got there. So she would tell him, I didn't make that for you. I made that for Leanne, and you can wait until she gets here. So one day I said, Nettie, you know, what is in your chicken salad? Yours is so good. What do you do? And so she sat down and she taught me, just like I'm teaching you. She said, don't break up the onions. Don't chop the onions. You want to make them coarse. That looks like about enough. Maybe a couple more, just because I like them. And if you're using pecans, you can do the same technique. Just use the flat of your blade to coarsely break them up. Okay. Slide this out of the way. So when you store your knives, there's a couple different ways you can store them. One, you could store them in a block like I do. This one happens to be acacia wood, and it's from the Pampered Chef. I like it because it has lots of different sized openings, and most of my knives fit in there. That particular made-in one doesn't fit because the blade is too wide at the base, so I store that in another way. You can take your blades and hang them on a magnet, up and down on a magnet on your wall. If you are challenged for space, that's a really great way to do it. It's safe. It won't warp your blade. And then the other way is, I have this. Here's a spare one. This goes in the drawer. I'll open this one up so you can see it. It actually goes in the drawer, and your blade sits in it like that. So it's not touching anything in the drawer that's going to hurt it. And there's lots of different spaces for different lengths of knives. So you can do one of those three ways and your knife will stay safe. If you don't have any of those and your knife came with a blade cover, put the blade cover on it and it's safe in the drawer. It'll be fine. Okay. I'm using white pepper. Nettie always used black. But I find that I like the floral component of the white pepper in this particular chicken salad. I use black sometimes too, but I really like the way the white one smells like flowers. So we're gonna use that. Okay, so kosher salt. And Tina, my sister, says I put too much salt in it. I think she doesn't put enough in. We meet somewhere in the middle. And then dill weed. Now, my stepmom for years used like regular dill weed that you could find in any grocery store. And when I was working with a Pampered Chef, I sent her this all-purpose dill weed. And she put it in the chicken salad. And she loved it. And she was really funny. And she said to me, she would never say, hey, Leanne, I'm out of that dill weed. Can you get me some more? She'd say, wow, that dill weed that you gave me is really good. I use it in everything. That was my cue that she was running low and I should send her some more. She would never ask for it. She would just tell me how much she liked it. Okay, so here's the other thing. it has to be Hellmann's mayonnaise. Or Best Foods if you're west of the Rockies like I am. I have made this with Duke's, and I love Duke's mayonnaise, but it doesn't taste the same. So if you are trying to make your chicken salad taste like my chicken salad, walnuts, dill weed, and Hellmann's mayonnaise. So Kim Spence, I hope you're watching, because now you know what the secret ingredients are. Okay? Walnuts, dill weed, and Hellmann's mayonnaise. And the measurements that I'm going to give you in the video on YouTube, you use as much mayonnaise as you like. You should have enough in there to bind it together, but not so much that it's soupy, okay? Unless you really like that. I mean, I'm not a big fan of a soupy tuna salad, egg salad, chicken salad. I'm not a big fan of that. I like it to have enough mayo to hold it together as a binder. And based on the amount of chicken that's in your breast, that's going to determine how much. So the measurements that I gave you are for roughly 4 cups of chicken breast. I don't like a super soupy mayonnaise, but some people do. Tiffany Covemaker says the more mayo, the better. That's great. My sister Tina is like me. She wants just enough to hold it together. And, you know, of course, you're going to, once it's in, you can't take it out. So it's better to add a couple of tablespoons at a time until you get the feel for it than to add the measurements that I gave you all at once, you know? So, it's done. Now do you understand why I didn't give you the recipe online? Because that's all there is to it. So you learned how to do a fine dice on an onion and celery. You can practice that and mix them together and store them together in a airtight container in your refrigerator and use it for tuna salad and chicken salad. Or to toss on top of a regular green salad to give you a little bit of crunch and a little bit of onion. But that's all there is to it. I mean, seriously. So if you've eaten my chicken salad and you always wanted me to share the recipe with you, you now have it. This is the very first time that I am sharing the recipe for the chicken salad ever. So here's a couple of things you need to know going forward. These videos are going to be removed from Facebook and you will only be able to find them on YouTube. So after about a week, you will only be able to find the recipes on YouTube. And the instructions and the measurements are going to be on YouTube as well. So you can follow me on Good for Spooning on all those platforms. And if you have not already signed up to get my blog and subscribe to the blog, please do so. And for those of you who have subscribed recently, thank you. I'm really a piece of celery in my hair. For those of you who just recently signed up, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I also appreciate all the follows and all the likes that you guys have been giving me. You are welcome to share all the videos all over the place. Yes, Lynn?
Jeannie wants to know, are you having a famous Ruprecht half sandwich?
As a matter of fact, Jeannie, yes I am. So let me show you the Ruprecht famous half sandwich. So my dad would say that he needed a snack. And he was just going to have a half a sandwich. So he would take his bread and he would, seriously, I'm not even kidding, maybe not that much. And he would take it and lay it in there, and then he would fold it like a taco. So it was more of a chicken salad sandwich taco than it was a true half sandwich. No lettuce, no tomato, just this. And that was Dad's half sandwich. My whole family does that, by the way. My niece Erica does it. My brother-in-law Walter does it. I do it, my son does it. Because that was Pap's famous, you know, half sandwich. The other thing about this is after it sits overnight in the refrigerator and the flavors have a chance to melt, it'll taste a lot better. It'll taste very different than when you first make it. Another thing to keep in mind, you know, when I said about the mayonnaise, once it's in it, you can't take it out. Same thing is true for salt. So if you're buying a rotisserie chicken and you don't know how much salt they've used to make it, you might want to go really easy on the salt and taste it the next day. I know how much salt I like, so I just went for it. So it's fine. What other questions we got? And have a drink.
Zach is excited it's an eating demo. Janet thought that the secret ingredient would be tarragon.
Oh God, no, I hate tarragon. It is the one herb I absolutely positively can't stand.
Patrice makes hers the same except no nuts and adds green olives.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the green olives, but I can't stand grapes in my chicken salad. I don't want fruit. I don't like sweet in my chicken salad. I don't like raisins, craisins, or grapes. I know a lot of people ask me why I don't do that. It's just because I don't like it. But you do, you, boo. What else?
Everybody's saying how delicious it looks. Bob says, I'm so hungry now. Bobby also just said, love you, have to go make a drink now.
Love you too, Bobby. We really were planning on going to New York in the fall to see the leaves change and visit with my maid of honor, Julie, and her husband, Jim. We were going to go visit with my buddy, Bobby, and his husband, Chris. And with the COVID-19 situation, it's not that we're afraid to travel, it's that John's seeing a lot less patients, and in order to be of benefit to the practice, he has taken a cut in pay so that everybody can keep working. So we are postponing our New York trip. So for those of you that were looking forward to seeing us in the fall, I'm sorry I'm not going to get to see you. Once again, I'm missing out on seeing the leaves change, which is the only thing I miss from the East Coast, is seeing the leaves change. There are people that I miss, but that is the only thing I miss.
Kim Meyer, I just realized where I learned how to make a half sandwich.
Must have been from Nancy.
Denise Wheeler, mine is similar, but I add a little Texas Pete.
Oh, very good. Thanks for giving the shout out to Texas Pete. They were my first job after culinary school.
And everybody else is saying how great the demo is, and thank you.
Okay, so I know that I have a 10-second delay, so I'm just gonna give you all guys all kisses and tell you that we're not cooking together this weekend. Nancy and I are taking the weekend off, which is why you're getting this one midweek. And we are going to come up with something really great for you for next time. What?
Zach says, thanks, love you, I'd watch you fold laundry.
Zach, love you too. So Zach's one of my drinking and eating buddies, and he and I did a fabulous tour through Las Vegas the last time he was here. And I did a great one with Bobby as well, and another great one with Kelly Howard if she's watching. So if you come to visit me in Vegas, once it reopens, I promise I will take you on a fantastic culinary tour where we will go to independently owned restaurants and have like one thing at each place that we can work our way through. And I'll also take you to some of my favorite bars so that you can try some amazing cocktails from some of our amazing, amazing, amazing bartenders and mixologists here in town. So when you're ready to book that trip to Vegas, give me a call, let me know. I will hook you up with hotel, I will hook you up with airfare, and I will take care of your entertainment, because who's more entertaining than me? Okay, love you all, thanks for watching, and as soon as we know what we're going to make, Nancy and I will post it as an event on Good for Spooning. Thanks for watching.
Where's the...
Hit the screen, and it'll show up. Stop video.
Apparently, Lynn is an idiot. Oh, wait a minute.